Hello and welcome to the Shake It Up Show, the show that looks at everything Bury AFC related. I'm Nick, I'm your host, and on today's show, we've got a very special guest, as usual. It's going to be the Gaffer Andy Welsh. Now, a lot has happened since Andy was last on the show. We've had 2 lockdowns, we've had 2 games, 2 victories, and then the curtail of the season, which was obviously quite disappointing for us as supporters, and obviously Andy as a manager. So we're going to get a little bit of the Gaffer's views on those things, as well as hearing what he has planned for the future. So without any further ado, please welcome our Gaffer, Andy Welsh. Hello, Andy.
How are you doing? You all right, Nick?
I'm all right, thanks, mate. How are you? How have you been over the last
really good.
How have you been over the last couple of months? What have you been doing? How have you passed the time?
It's been obviously tough from the football perspective, being unable to be with the team, with the club, around just live football, really. So I think it's been a real wake-up call in terms of what football means to us all, which I always knew what it meant to me anyway, but certainly now it's one of them where you just want to get back to some sort of normality. But if anything, I suppose it's one of them where in terms of, the Bury fans and being unable to watch the team for the last couple of years properly, it's kind of welcome to our world type thing, I think, for everyone as well. So, I always go on about having that empathetic view with our fans, and certainly now I've got it more so than ever.
Definitely. But you have been slightly busy, though, because you've been doing your Saturday morning sessions, though.
Yeah.
Tell us about them.
Yeah, so the first lockdown, obviously we've got, hundreds of kids that come to our academies across, Yorkshire. And it was just trying to find something for them to do, and, started doing free sessions on Facebook. So, we get around 130 to 150 kids join us, and it's me doing the ball mastery skills on a Saturday morning, taking it old school back to my playing days, really.
And you've got an app as well that's coming out soon, is that right?
Well, no, it's already out. So
already
yeah,
out.
we've got, again, that's another one. We've got 450 kids from all over the UK that are on the app. Basically, it's a ball mastery app for kids from the age of 4 all up to, we've got academy players from even including girls football. We've got a Spurs under 16s girls player on the system. We've got Norwich players, Newcastle United, but all them have gone back to their clubs now. But what we've been able to do is develop a system that challenges them as individuals. And there's a lot of apps out there that you buy it and you don't hear from people ever again. You just, a bit like a kind of games console, whereas this you're interacting with our coaches every day. So, it's been a real good one for the kids, and certainly for us to start working in that online environment.
Give it a plug, Andy. What's it called?
It's just called the Forza Football Academy app. So the company is Forza Football. So it's all on our Facebook page. We're on Instagram, YouTube. We're doing really well on YouTube. Been able to build that to, I think there's 530 odd subscribers now. So all the sessions that we do on the live sessions, we upload them to YouTube as well, completely free. So kids, coaches, parents, if they're looking to improve the kids' game for nothing, go and have a look at the sessions.
There we go. Brilliant. Fantastic. Right.
Yeah.
So back to why we're here, obviously Bury AFC related. So no sooner had the lads returned from the second lockdown, we played a couple of games and then we were hit by another one. So let's get your views. But God, it seems like so long ago. So the last, the Chatterton game, 3-2.
Yeah.
Was that on Boxing Day? That was on Boxing Day, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, Boxing Day, yeah. Boxing Day.
It feels like...
Was it Boxing Day?
Was it?
Yeah, it was.
Boxing Day. God, it feels like an age ago, wasn't it? So, and like the lads were just getting into the rhythm, weren't they? They were just, you could see lots of things happening on the park and lots of, passages of play. And even though we'd had a substantial period of time out, you could see things were still gelling. And how annoying and upsetting was it for you to have to just kind of, curtail the season? And obviously we didn't know that we were going to bring the season to a halt, but when that third lockdown came in, how did you and the players feel about it?
Well, me being me and the players being the players, we always work up until the last minute. So we actually trained at Power League in the city centre of Manchester. I think on the Wednesday that the lockdown was being put in place.
Wow. I
think it was the Wednesday. So yeah, funny story on that. Obviously, we kind of weren't accepting it. We thought, is it gonna? And then obviously we'd already kind of said we're going to train anyway. So we did a 2-hour session, did a lot of fitness work, and then we did round robin games to finish, which you might have seen us having a bit of banter about Liam McDevitt and the youngies v oldies. Which is where he actually broke his wrist.
So you've got to tell us about that. So what did he do?
Yeah. I forget what it was he did. But funnily enough, we were talking about it on the WhatsApp group today, because there was a video flying around when football returns, and it was basically a guy trying to kick the ball and he were all over the gaff. So, I think it was Jimmy Moore putting... was that not the younger v oldies game? And then at the end, he'd kind of fallen down. The guy hurt his wrist, and I think someone had mentioned, was that when Liam did his wrist as well? So, it's a good bit of banter. The lads are still, in contact and, talking to each other. But I think just for stuff like that, it's very difficult. No one's got the answers. There's players that have got mates that might be playing in the pro game or in the conference. And, we're in no man's land, because you've got your grassroots starting back on the 29th.
Yeah.
So, for example, Mark Slater with Walshaw, their league have already said there's going to be a tournament, and and then there's us all the way up to the Conference North.
We know where to go.
Nothing. There's, and it's just bizarre, and it's frustrating because, you just want to see football, you want to play football. So, the FA, let's get it going, give us an indication of what's happening.
So I was going to say, in your opinion, Andy, what could have been done to safeguard the season? I've spoke to a couple of players about this and just sort of discussing, we knew that COVID was coming. We knew that there was going to be some upset to the season.
Yeah.
What do you think could have been done to make sure that we didn't get another null and void season?
Did we look at the fixture programme first and foremost? Because if we started the season knowing that we couldn't finish it with having to play Saturday, Tuesdays, why didn't they just put in place, we're going to play each other once?
Yeah.
And if we play each other once, but we're going to play each other once in a short period of time. So, you might have all the fixtures done by, say, I don't know, January or something.
Yeah.
And then from then on, it's a case of, right, you could have then said, right, we can carry on and we play each other. That's just my mindset on it, having a bit of a proactive mindset on it rather than, right, COVID's here, season's finished.
Yeah.
Even up in, even I still wasn't having it even up until probably, I just knew it wasn't going to happen 4 weeks ago, but up until January and all the way through January, I was still saying if we come back, start of February, still got a chance. And people are saying no. And then I was saying, even if we came back mid-February, still got a chance of playing once. Yeah, but there's just too many people saying it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. And if we're all saying that, then it isn't going to happen. But my biggest thing is now then, what is the way forward? Because I think nobody wants to be part of something that hasn't got a future.
Yeah. So what would you do?
And that's the worrying thing.
Going forward then, Andy, what do you think? What would you suggest then? Have you got any ideas, or is it just a case
Well,
of...
I mean, I do think we should be kicking off earlier this coming season.
Yeah.
Because I've no doubt about it that, from what all the experts are saying, we're probably going to go into a lockdown in winter again. But like I said, in January, February time, how many games would we have played anyway with the weather?
Yeah.
So what was the FA in the leagues?
Plan.
What were they going to do then anyway? Because there was still going to be a backlog of fixtures. So what's the plan?
I think those are very poignant questions, and I think the questions that still need answers, don't they? Really?
Yeah.
Well, enough of the doom and gloom. Obviously, we've got what I know. It was a really short season, and I think for one part of it, at least we saw some football, albeit only a few games. What I was going to say, what I think you've probably already touched on this in other interviews, but what bits were your highlights? What things did you really enjoy about the very short time that we had together?
I think it was just the whole building process. Certainly, the first games. The goals. I like my team to be attacking and score goals, and I know in terms of the way we finished, I think we were top. I think we were top scorers in the league. We could have improved defensively, but again, I think it's always. I think it's more difficult to score goals than to kind of keep them out the back of the net. I wasn't worried about where we would go on the goals against tally, because I know that would have improved massively. But I was, the goals we were scoring and where we were at on that side, it was incredible, really. And the character that we showed in tough moments. You're not talking about 15 minutes to go. You're talking about, last kick of the game, Chris Holt scoring against Golka.
Yeah.
Last couple of minutes of the game, Greavesy scoring. All those moments. Greavesy missing a penalty, it comes back to him and it takes an age to kind of come down, but he sticks it in, with his left foot. And we're 2-0 down to 10 men. And, all those things, is what we've reiterated to the players is, listen, we've started something now. We've started something really exciting together. Let's make sure we give ourselves the best possible chance when we return to start where we left off, if you like.
Definitely. It'd be nice to do it in front of bigger crowds as well. Obviously, we're restricted to 300 and 150 for some of those games, so it'd be nice to do that. I know, especially for some of them lads, they've probably not played in front of a crowd of over maybe 500-700. So it'd be nice to show what that to a few more people rather than just a select few, wouldn't it?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Even Garstang away, I know we played one away game, but you turn up and you can tell we travelled well on the evening. The fans made noise and the flags. Even you guys with the media team, and it's fantastic. That's what we want to continue to build on. But we just, I feel for you guys as well. In the media team, all the backroom staff, all the fans, because everyone's spending time. It's not always about spending money. It's, time is precious for people as well. Some people might never ever get the opportunity to see Bury play again because of what's happened in the last 2 years, which when you look at it like that, that's upsetting. So are we looking at things from that point of view as well? Because we want the game back, and we don't want it back with 150. We want it back with 1,500 or 2,000 or 2,500, which we're more than capable of getting.
It's just allowing it to grow. I think that's the thing, isn't it? And having that, and on the back of what was happening already, like you say, the Steaton game got a bit of coverage. Particularly the Golka game where we were down to 9 men. all that kind of on the back of all that, it was quite, there was an excitement there, wasn't it? So to be able to do that in front of a packed house would be great, wouldn't it?
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. But to be honest, even on those games, it was loud.
Yeah,
it was exciting. There was a buzz, proper, live football. So, and listen, I know for a fact that there's players playing at the highest levels and in the championship that I know aren't enjoying the game at the minute because there are no fans in there.
Yeah, it's an important part, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So just moving on, and they were going to ask you a little bit about your career and what and kind of, first of all, we'll talk about management, because when Sani was speaking to Tom Greaves, he took over at FC for a little bit, FC United, and he mentioned how difficult it was balancing the two, balancing being a manager and being a player. So when you first started in management, you did the dual role, didn't you? You started as a player and then went into so how did you find that challenge starting off first of all as a player manager and then having to kind of draw a line under your playing career and becoming a full-time manager?
I wasn't actually going to start playing again, to be honest with you. So I'd already stopped playing when did I stop playing? It must have been 2015. So I hadn't played for 2 years. And then I got asked to come in and do an assistant manager stroke player role. And I was like, well, yeah, and then I was top scorer for like the first 10 games or something, but the manager didn't have the greatest of starts and what have you. And the people that brought me in said, look, we want you to take over until we find someone as kind of player manager. And obviously I took over.
That was at Ossett United, yeah?
That was at Ossett Albion.
Albion, sorry, other one.
Yeah, before the two clubs merged. And then I brought in an assistant manager, Mark Robertson, with me. So when I was playing, he was the manager on the sidelines. But again, he's got, lots of knowledge, great experience, top guy, commands respect. So everything that I'd need when I was playing, I had on the sidelines there. So my first game, I think we drew 1-1. Then we picked up a couple of wins, but then I got an Achilles injury, which was pretty much an old injury I'd had anyway. And then I took myself out of the team. But bearing in mind, when I took over, I think we were second bottom or something. We'd gone on quite a decent run. But I'm telling players, look, if you come out of the team, you lose your shirt because you're not playing well or injured, it's going to be hard to get it back. I couldn't get back in team because we were winning. So that was it.
You effectively retire yourself then?
Yeah, basically, yeah. Yeah, I just went out the back door myself. So yeah, that's pretty much how that happened. And we just went on an incredible run, really. And some top players with us. We were able to get some really good players in. Chippy joined us that season, and he was different class. I had Scott Metcalf. I brought Scotty in, and again, top player.
Yeah.
So that's how I know what them two will bring. They weren't with us when we were top of the league. They were with us in a dogfight, and they know what it's like to be in those areas as well as winning leagues. So, both them players have certainly added to our squad, both character and quality as well.
Definitely. So is that important? Kind of like when you are having, we see it so many times from managers when they go to another club, they bring a lot of the players. It doesn't matter what level they're at, whether it be Championship, Premier League, League Two.
Yeah.
They bring players that so is that kind of like a philosophy that you kind of carry through with you? Is that if a player can do a job, you want them with you?
Yeah, I think so. I think I did say, I remember someone did say, he's bringing in quite a few Ossett players, but you got to remember, I built that team like I'm building Bury. I built it from scratch.
Yeah.
Well, I did have players that were there from Ossett Albion and Ossett Town, but likes of your your Chippies and people like that. You know, I've worked with them and I know what they're about. You know, Greavesy, another one who I brought in at Ossett, and you know, he ended up at the minute he's Ossett United's all-time top scorer. He scored some great goals, which I saw one of them he posted today that he scored in the FA Cup for me. And you know, so you do naturally want to bring in players that you know the way you work and will give you what you want on the pitch as well. So I think that's just natural. I mean, if football was a game without transfer fees and you could move wherever you want, you would probably see a lot more of players going where a manager goes, if you like.
Yeah. So when you were playing, you spent some time at Sunderland, and did you work under Roy Keane there?
Both Mick McCarthy and Roy Keane, yeah.
So did any of your... so obviously we've seen Roy on the telly. We might have seen a little bit of his softer side with Micka. What was he like as a manager? And have you kind of... Well, obviously you got Mick signed you, Mick McCarthy. Have you gathered any of their traits when you've got into your level of management? And is there anything that you've like borrowed off them as a manager and implemented in your teams?
Yeah. I think certainly with Mick McCarthy, it's just trying to have that honest and probably ruthlessness about how you want to be as a team, but not just as a manager, as a team. So it's not just the manager that is implementing it's if your teammate is turning up late, tossing it off in training. Am I allowed to say? I think I am. Yeah,
I think we'll be all right with tossing it off.
Yeah, yeah. You know, things like that. It's not always up to the manager. If you want to be a successful team and squad and manager, and you know, you've all got to play a part, and that's the biggest thing that I take from certainly Mick McCarthy is everyone's got a role to play, whether that's 40, 50 goal a season striker or a kid that just trains because he's got a bright future ahead of him. He's still got a role to push the ones in training. And
did you borrow any of Roy Keane's? What was he like as a? Let's first of all, what was he like as a manager? Did you get on with him, or?
He was. I mean, he was quiet. You know, similar to what you can imagine, and then he'd have an outburst, and you know, obviously it's difficult for me because when he came in, it was probably an unhappy time for me at Sunderland in terms of, you know, I wasn't getting a game, and I had to go out on loan. I was fortunate; I'd just signed, you know, quite a long contract, so. But I just didn't want to be there because you know, it was a time where it wasn't nice for me. But he also didn't help that situation either. Certainly, you know, the time when I was looking to leave, you know, words got exchanged and things like that, and it didn't sit right with me. You know, I wouldn't want to treat anybody like that as a manager. You know, there's a lot of people that have probably gone on and said similar things about that side of him, but we all get that he's a top player. I was you know, he's one of big hero of mine. Like a lot of the United, I think everybody in that '99 era, whether you're a United fan or not, had respect and a lot for, you know, those United players at that time. You know, so that was a frustrating part that, you know, I would have loved to have been part of his team, but just didn't really get given a fair opportunity.
I've seen two sides to Roy Keane. The first side, he was on I was coming back from Ireland, and he was on a flight. I think it was when he was assistant to Martin O'Neill, and I think they just played Wales. And I was coming back on a you know, little bus that takes you from the plane to the terminal. And this Irish lad must have hurdled over 15 suitcases, 3 people to try and speak to him. And he went, Roy. And he didn't even open his mouth. He glared at him. and this bloke just turned around and walked back to the other side of the bus. He just didn't, just didn't want to know. However, I've seen I know another story to him. For those that don't know, I'm a teacher, and a couple of my colleagues took about 50 kids to the cinema. And Roy Keane was in there with his wife, and he approached one of my colleagues and said, "Are these kids from Salford? Are they with you?" Yeah, and he just said, "Tell them to get what they want from the from the popcorn and Coke and whatever. Tell them get whatever they want, and pay for it." So I think he must have two sides to him, and I think he's obviously you'll know what it's like being a manager. You've got to be ruthless, and you've got to have that kind of little streak in you. But I think he has probably got he's a big softie, really. Maybe if you saw him now, it might be a little bit different, Andy. I don't know.
Oh, listen, these things, I'm not losing sleep. Or I think that what you've said there. Great. I'm sure there's a lot of stories regarding that he's done. But I think also with the media side of it as well, he's box office, isn't he? And he plays up to that. So, has he got the Celtic job or?
I don't know yet. I've not seen anything. I know he's linked with it. He's rumoured. Well, you never know. He might be watching this, Roy. If you're watching,
well, you never know. You might end up in a cinema, and all of a sudden he's bought me an ice cream.
We could do almost like a Jeremy Kyle Friends Reunited type. No, maybe maybe that's a stretch too.
I think it's more that'd be more box office with Mick McCarthy than me, though.
So just touching, I always like talking to you about your career as a professional, and I just find it really interesting. Just tell me a little bit about what it was like walking out, like in the Premier League for Sunderland and crossing that white line and having that, because they're mad up there, aren't they? The Mackhams are absolutely nuts for the football up there. What was that like as a young lad that's come up through Stockport and made his way through the leagues? How did you feel when you made your debut that time?
At Stockport, you mean? Or
no, at Sunderland. I was thinking more about Sunderland.
I mean, it's every little boy, little girl's dream of making it in the professional game, and I think back to me the start of the Premier League. I started probably the first 4 or 5 games, and the first game was Charlton at home, and I got an assist. Second game was Liverpool away. So I got sent off at Anfield that game, mine. But
what did you do?
75 minutes or something.
Straight red.
It was a straight red. Yeah, the ref said I'd kicked out at Louis Garcia, but I think everyone remembers Louis Garcia and his diving antics and things like that. So it got rescinded, fortunately enough, which meant I could then play against Man City on the Tuesday at home. All these feelings that people think about and boys and girls go to bed dreaming about, and players go to bed dreaming about, standing in a tunnel, in a derby next to, say, an Alan Shearer, about a walkout at St. James's. I've been there and I've done all that, standing in the tunnel at the Stadium of Light next to Van Nistelrooy, Cristiano Ronaldo, Rooney, Scholes, Van der Sar, Rio Ferdinand, the list goes on. I've done that, and I'm so fortunate to have been given that opportunity, but I also know how hard I worked to get there. And what it takes to get there, and how you can give yourself an opportunity as a player to get in those situations. And sometimes it's not about right place, right time. Sometimes it's about just keep working when you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, because at some point you will get those opportunities. And, my pathway was a lot different to normal kids. I didn't get picked up until I was 16. And that wasn't through someone coming to watch me. That was because me and my mum wrote letters off for trials. So, we wrote to every single professional league club and asked for a trial.
Amazing. I think that's the old school way, rather than, I think that's what a lot of kind of footballers in the 70s and 80s kind of used to do. They came up through the leagues, they wrote off to places. I was listening to a podcast the other week, and it was a player who had written off to places and just luckily got in that way. So it's quite it's
probably
quite
mine.
admirable. It's quite admirable to do it though, isn't it? It's quite an admirable way, and then to get you just rewarded.
Listen, at the end of the day, Nick, pride comes before a fall in life. Simple as that. And if you want to make it in life, you've got to open the doors yourself sometimes. And I'm so thankful that my mum did that for me. I'm sat here saying me and my mum, right? It wasn't me, it was my mum. Simple as that. And she did that, but then it was my dad taking us here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah.
So
100%. Brilliant.
Yeah. So without their support, it wouldn't have been possible.
We've touched upon your career, your illustrious career. Well, we touched upon it. So I think what as fans we're interested in is kind of who you've played against, who you've played with. So tell us. So I asked you, we're not doing a quiz this week. I said to you, we're not going to do a quiz. We want to know your best 11 that you've either played with, played against, and then tell me why you've picked those players. So you mentioned a few before, but you get to choose your formation. You're the manager. And so we'll start off with the keeper. Who's the best keeper? I'm going to write these down as well, Andy, so we've got a record of it.
Yeah.
So great. The best keeper you've ever played with or against, and why you've picked him.
It's got to be against, hasn't it, really? Edwin van der Sar. Doesn't get much better than that, I don't think. I think, he's won, leagues, he's won Champions Leagues, so many games and so experienced, and, also spoiled my day when I thought I had a chance to score against United. He was quick off his line and snuffed that out. So yeah, Edwin van der Sar is a goal.
So he's your goalkeeper. All right. So how many are we playing at the back, Andy?
I'm going to go for a 4 at the back.
4 at the back.
I'm just going to go a steady 4-4-2.
Steady 4-4-2.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So should we start with right back, number 2?
Right back. Who was the hardest? I mean, to be honest, it wasn't when he was at United, but it was. I did okay, but we played Wolves pre-season when I was at Stockport, and Dennis Irwin was playing at right back for Wolves, and even though he was coming to the end of his career, it was just little things that he did that you thought, this is why he played at the top level. Like, every time you got the ball, he would kick you off the ball and things like that. And you wouldn't have thought that about him. And, just tough, but also on the ball. Normally, you'd think, can put a bit of pressure on, but, he was comfortable on the ball, and, going forward, still had a good engine as well. So, got a lot of respect for Dennis Irwin and what he's done in the game. And I sometimes don't think he got the kind of respect he should have got for his career, to be honest. Because I always thought he was a great player at United. Could play with both left and right feet.
I think he played at right back for Ireland, didn't he? He always played right back for Ireland.
He did, yeah. But played a lot at left back for United.
Yeah. So we've got Dennis Irwin at right back. Who are we having at left back then?
Left back. I'd probably go with I'm gonna go with George Mccartney at Sunderland.
Right.
Because, I mean, he just had a phenomenal engine on him. Fantastic player. could get goals. What was great, I mean, for me at times when you kind of roll inside, he'd take players away, he'd run them away, and but he also knew when to join in and when not to join in. But also it was one of them, if we lost the ball, he was very quick to regain the ball as well. And he went on from Sunderland, and I think he played quite a lot for West Ham in the Premiership as well, and did well, Northern Irish international as well. So he came back from quite a serious injury as well. So, potentially if he didn't get that serious injury, he might have gone on to
even further,
even bigger things, because he had everything, in my opinion.
Okay, so just to recap, we've got Van der Sar, we've got Irwin, and we've got Mccartney. So you got your two centre-backs. Now, I'm not being, you don't have to pick a right footer and a left footer. Just give us two centre-backs. Who are your two at the back?
I'm going to put Gary Breen in there, who was the captain when I went up to Sunderland. Breen, he was everything, you want in a captain, in terms of, would lead by example on and off the pitch. Quite reserved off the pitch, but I think sometimes you need that as a captain, always approachable, but also, when you do things right, it make you feel like, you're one of the best players on the pitch and things like that. And probably my biggest thing is, he always trusted me with the ball in terms of playing it out, because wanting it in tight areas, and even if I lost it from a dribble, he'd always encourage me to keep doing it. And just the way he was with everyone, and his relationship with Mccartney, I thought was amazing as well. Sometimes they'd have the biggest barneys you've ever seen, and it might end up in one of them saying, "I'm sorry" in front of lads. I always remember one in Mick McCarthy, and do you know what, Breen? Do you know what? I apologise. I shouldn't have called you that. I should, So just funny things. It was just some of that sort of stuff that really sticks out in your memory of how good a captain and how much respect people had for him.
I was going to say, it sounded like he commanded respect. If Mick McCarthy's even apologising to him, it sounds like he's.
But listen, that's. On that situation, it was just that sticks out in my head. It was just a funny one. Really.
Is he going to be your captain, Breeny?
Yeah,
I
think so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Who's he playing alongside then? Who's his central defensive partner?
I've thought long and hard about this, and I've probably left it to the last minute. But I'm gonna go with him because them two had a good partnership when we got promoted, and he actually played on the left hand side. Was Stevie Caldwell. And I'm going with that just because those two had a really good partnership. When we did go up, I think they played quite a bit together. Sometimes they didn't, but certainly the season we got promoted, they were rock solid together. And to be fair to Stevie, he went on and got another promotion with Burnley, followed my path and went out to Toronto, did well out there. And now he's a pundit out there in Toronto as well. So, I just thought them two as a partnership were a very good partnership, really.
I know you're having 5 and 6 at the back. You're not having a 4 at the back, like you know what I mean? Like when you're central defenders, they're having 5 and 6 on the back of the shirts, aren't they? 4's always a central midfielder. Yeah. Good. I'm just checking. Right.
So I put it as a 4.
Yeah, exactly. So, what about on your wings? Then, are you playing on your wings?
Well, I mean, you can't argue with Ronaldo, can you? So,
just Ronaldo, innit? Yeah, why not?
No, he was at the time he was a right winger for United, so I'm going to put him on the wing.
Enough said about Ronaldo. I don't think he's just there, isn't he? What about on the left-hand side then?
On the left-hand side, Julio Arca.
Oh, right, okay. At Sunderland, is he going to be at Sunderland?
Yeah, and again, I think it got to the stage where obviously, if George, I mean, if George was injured, Julio would drop to left back and I'd come in, or if there was good competition in that area between the three of us. And, certainly the years that I was there, it pushed me on as a player to go, right, I've got to improve and I've got to be at the top of my game. But Julio was an incredible player. And funnily enough, going back to my management day, going back to the start of my management career, he played for South Shields in their season when they won the league against my Ossett team.
Right.
So it was, talking about when people say, they can do it there, but can they do it here?
Cold Tuesday night in Stoke. He could do it in a cold Tuesday night.
He's about. I mean, if you've ever seen Julio play, he's an incredible player. It's like he had the ball on a string, and he was doing that on a dry, bobbly end of season pitch. Taking the mick out of people, and that's what he does. So I think he was on some sort of crazy deal at South Shields where to get him in there, he was on like £1 a fan that came through the door. So they were getting like up to nearly 2,000 fans through the gate, and he'd get £1 of each fan. So
not bad, is it? Not bad if you can get it.
That was a rumour, but I mean, he was he was, some of the things he used to do were different class, and he was passionate. That South, he was little Argentinian, that passion, and again, a joy to train with every day, and to play alongside as well.
Brilliant. So we've just got your two central midfielders then.
It is very United, but Paul Scholes was incredible against us. He was amazing. You're talking about the thing is, I could say Gerrard, Lampard, all these players. Even talking about players. I've stuck Julio in there. Could have been Arjen Robben. It could have been, these types of players, but. I'm just going off my memory, and I always remember playing United, and we've gone in at half time at the Stadium of Light, and it's 2-0 to United. And Mick McCarthy said, second half, go out and just get into them first 10 minutes, see if we can claw a goal back. And Paul Scholes must have just kept the ball to himself for about 3 minutes, just giving it to a fullback, getting it back, popping it into a forward, getting it back, and you literally just couldn't get near him.
And to think,
and his partner, who's going to be in there with him, was exactly the same. Was Rui Costa. So right. Played against Rui Costa at Benfica.
Right.
So, I know a lot of the younger generation won't remember Rui Costa, Portuguese player. Fiorentina.
Yeah.
Fiorentina, AC Milan. But he was unbelievable. And he was, at the time, I think he was about 38, and it was Benfica came over to Toronto to play us in a pre-season friendly. And I swear to God, at one point, there was 3 of us chasing him. And he just had it like, he was just like, when you hear him go, ole, like that, he was just like running us round in a circle. Because his stature, he was 6'1", 6'2", big thighs, but just tall and wiry, and you couldn't get the ball off him. But, he was different class, very good. But again, that could have been Lampard, it could have been Gerrard, it could have been, all these top players.
Sorry, Andy, just one of the things, and it's funny that with Rui Costa, I know Portugal built the team around Rui Costa, and yet we shoved Paul Scholes out on the left-hand side of midfield. It just seems such a waste, doesn't it? Right, that brings us to our centre forwards. Now, I don't know if you're going to play. Are you going to play a 10, a playmaker, and a traditional centre forward, or you got a big lad and a small lad, or how are you going to play it?
I'm just going to go two centre forwards. Yeah, I'm just going to go 2 centre forwards.
Fine.
My first one, I just loved him when he came. It's very United, this team, and I totally get it. But Van Nistelrooy, I would go Andy Cole because he was my hero at United. But I don't know. I played against Andy Cole when he was at Man City, and then obviously played against Nistelrooy when he was at United. And Van Nistelrooy was just, I know Andy Cole was a finisher, but Van Nistelrooy was just different level, in my opinion.
And then your last centre forward, then. Is it going to be Tom Greaves?
Yeah, Greaves. No, I don't quite get in there.
Oh.
Yeah, it would be fairy tale if that happened. I don't think that's box office, is it? I'm just trying to, I thought about some of the players. I mean, certainly Marcus Stewart was incredible the season we went up, but again, that's going down them avenues. So thinking about some of the top players that you've played against that, have really, really stood out, and certainly Drogba was very, very strong. But he's not going in.
He's not going in.
He's not
I was going to say, can you imagine Drogba and Nistelrooy up front? That would be a real like physical team.
I'm gonna go with. I'm not a fan of him. Well, I was a fan of him and I wasn't, but I'm gonna go with Robin van Persie.
RVP.
Because he's a lefty.
Yeah.
As well, which is very rare.
Yeah.
And I also think he would work well because he can drop off and he can go in behind.
So he can get in the hole a little bit.
Well,
and just...
Yeah. But I also like the thought of having 2 wide men that can deliver into the box for 2, out and out goal scorers.
Right. So I'm going to recap your team. So we've got Edwin van der Sar in net. We've got Irwin at right back and George McCarthy at left back. We've got Gary Breen in and Caldwell in the middle. With Julio Arca, Paul Scholes, Rui Costa and Ronaldo in midfield. Robin van Persie and Van Nistelrooy up top. Not a bad team, that. Not a bad. I mean, like you say, you probably could have put a billion players in there. But
Claude Makelele.
I mean, yeah.
Could have gone in.
We'll put him on the bench, shall we? We could, if we're trying
Hernan Crespo could have gone in.
He's name dropping now. He's name dropping. So we've got Crespo, right? We've got Makelele on the bench in case we're trying to defend a 1-0 lead, and we'll just slip him. We'll take Van Persie off, and we'll put Makelele in the middle.
Yeah.
Brilliant. It's a real fascinating insight into, because obviously, we play, Bury AFC play at a certain level, but it's almost, it's always really interesting to hear about those type of players, and it's really, I think a lot of our fans are football fans, and I think people who watch this will be football fans. So it's always good to hear about those type of players and what they're like. Fantastic. Yeah. Right. So moving on, Andy, you avoided the quiz. So, what are you hoping for the next season then? So moving, into the new season, what are you hoping for?
Just continuity, really. I don't know what the fans or yourself or anyone else thought, but there was always a little bit of a niggle in the back of my head in terms of it didn't feel right. It felt like something was going to happen, like the season was going to get null and void or something. So I just think, going back to the start of the conversation of what is the plan and what are we doing in terms of how's it going to start, how's it going to finish?
Yeah.
If X, Y, and Z happens, really.
Okay, brilliant. Andy, thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll hopefully see you in the new season.
Yeah. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, Andy. My thanks goes to Andy Welsh, the gaffer, and also thank you for watching. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe just somewhere below down here, the little red tab or the bell. That will keep you updated with goals, latest news, and also some of our heritage videos. This is also available as a podcast. You can go to your podcast provider, Acast, Apple, or Spotify, and leave a little review. We're also on social media. We're on Facebook. We're on TikTok, and we're also on Twitter. Type in Bury AFC and you should be able to find us. Until next time, thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.